You're listening to PetLifeRadio.com.
Hello, you are listening to My Dog Digs Dirt. I'm your host, Lauren Collier. Have you ever heard of the organization Thinking Animals United? It's a nonprofit dedicated to education, compassion, conservation, and protection of animals everywhere. Stay tuned to find out more and meet the founder and president, Bonnie Wyper. Up next, when My Dog Digs Dirt returns right after this.
It's DesignerPetSweaters.com. Hand-knitted designer sweaters for your precious pup or cool cat. Beautiful couture patterns for your pets, including custom-knitted formal wear, casual wear, yachting, and even sports-themed. Many designer pet sweaters include feathered tammy hats, top hats, and a lot of sparkle. Each sweater includes leg loops, front paw sleeves, and leash opening. Visit DesignerPetSweaters.com to order your four-legged fashions today. Your pets will stay warm for the winter and be runway ready. Large or small, we fit them all. DesignerPetSweaters.com.
Let's Talk Pets on PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back to My Dog Digs Dirt. I'm here with Bonnie Wyper, founder and president of Thinking Animals United. Welcome to the show, Bonnie.
Thank you very much.
I'm delighted to have you here. It's really such a unique organization. So I want to start out by telling our listeners exactly what you're all about.
Well, we're an educational and communications nonprofit dedicated to educating the public about other animals and the people who protect them. Our website is called Thinking Animals United because, in effect, we are all thinking animals united on the planet. And we have been holding, for the last 4 years, we've been holding public lectures inviting world-renowned scientists to educate the public about what the latest research in animal cognition and behavior is. So how animals think, why they behave as they do, are they self-aware? Do they behave with intention? Do they pass knowledge between generations? That kind of thing. We've also just recently rebranded the site and expanded our mission to looking at both the humane treatment of animals and their conservation. So next May, we are putting together what we're calling the Rethinking Animal Summit, and it's going to deal with the consequences if we do not change how we relate to other species on the planet. So we've taken 5 silos of interest to just about everybody on the planet, and those are: how do animals impact our health? How do they impact global security? How do they impact national economies as well as environmental sustainability? And then perhaps most important but more subtle, how do they impact the moral imperative that we want to leave our children for future generations?
Yeah. I mean, it's very, very interesting. I have to say I was drawn to you because of some of these wonderful lectures and events that you put on. They're very unique. And so I want to make sure our listeners, will definitely, log onto your website and sign up so hopefully they can be on your, email list. Mention a couple, because you have really interesting speakers and just interesting topics. Recently, you had one about elephants and you also had some photographers. How do you put this all together, Bonnie? You really make this a very interesting, compelling subject.
Aren't you nice? Thank you. I went through Hunter College here in New York. I went through their animal behavior and conservation program and ended up with an advanced degree in the psychology of animal behavior and conservation. And during that period, I did a lot of research and wrote papers, and I realized that behind academic walls, this was back in 2008, 2007, I realized that there was an enormous amount of really, really interesting research behind academic walls. It was not getting out to the public. so I started thinking animals with two other people. And when you deal with animal cognition, there's certain areas that you want to cover. And, that is things like communications. And then people are always interested in how do you actually find out how smart animals are, because of course we can't communicate with them.
Right.
So, one of the biggest challenges for researchers in this area is this is work either in the field, watching animals in the field, or in captive situations. These are not invasive research studies by any means.
Yeah, that's important.
One of them, absolutely. So it's done by giving the animal a particular task to accomplish and to see how they do it. But one of the most difficult things is, of course, the idea or the fact that animals live in completely different worlds than we do. And we have no way of entering their world. We've evolved to live in a visual world. A dog, for instance, has evolved to live in a world that is dominated by scent. So we have 5 million scent receptors. A dog has 300 million scent receptors.
Unbelievable,
so
right?
Right. So we can never understand the world that a dog lives in. What's happened to humans is through the years, through evolution, in order to develop this big brain of ours, which is very energy intensive, we had to give up a lot of the other senses, or we were born, we never developed those particular senses. And through the senses that you have,
right.
Touch, feeling, hearing, seeing, that you interpret the world. So if you emote both emotionally and in every manner. So if you see a lion coming at you, you experience, your visual sense tells you that the lion is coming. You experience the emotion of fear, and that immediately tells your legs to get going.
Right.
Turn the opposite direction and run. So, other animals have amazing capabilities to communicate through chemicals, through tapping into the magnetic poles of the earth. Birds can see things that we can't see. All other species live in worlds that we simply can't get into. So one of the major issues for researchers is how do you develop studies to understand a particular species
right.
within the world that we can't enter? And some people are better at doing that than others. You can look at research studies and after you've studied a number, you can say, gee, they really didn't crack this one. They just didn't get. For instance, there's a test called the mirror self-recognition test, which is given both to human infants as well as to a number of different species, and particularly with species with complex folded neocortex. And what that does is there are several stages that you show an animal or an infant a mirror. And initially they see another one like them, another conspecific, as you say, and they look around the mirror, they try to see where it is, they depending upon the species, they'll try to attack it, but they perceive it as something other than themselves.
Right.
At a certain point, you start seeing the animal or the baby doing what's called contingency testing. They'll stick out their tongue and they'll see that the other animal in the mirror does too, and they start wondering. They raise their hand, or they look under their arm, or depending upon what kind of animal it is. And then what's done is called a mark test, where you put a mark on the subject in a place where he or she can't see it unless they use the mirror. And if they recognize a mark on themselves, and they do that by touching it, using the mirror to see it. So a dolphin will raise its fin if the mark is under its fin, because the dolphin couldn't see it normally. And at that point, the brain, it's a process of brain development. The brain is capable of understanding that there are other people or other conspecifics out in the world, and that you, yourself, your sense of self and self-awareness is developed enough to realize that you're separate from them, you're different from them.
Wow.
And at that point, you develop, it's sort of the first step towards empathy and basically being able to walk in someone else's shoes, understanding that other people have different needs and perspective taking, and trying to figure out what they can do, so anticipating what other creatures will do, etc. So for a long time, scientists only thought that animals with big, complex neocortex could do this, and then in 2008, it was discovered that certain corvids, which include birds like crows and ravens and starlings, etc., also pass the mirror test, mirror and mark test. And when you think about it, these birds cache nuts. They can cache 300, 400 nuts, and remember where they are.
It's amazing,
up to a couple of years later, which is better than us.
Yeah.
So chimpanzees and dolphins and elephants and these monkeys and in some cases pigeons have been able to do this. Other animals for whom, for instance, a dog, for whom the visual system is very different and for whose world is really scent-oriented, that's not a relevant test to them. You don't use that test. A snake, you can't use that test. An octopus, you couldn't use that test. Other creatures, you have to figure out different ways of relating to their world. It's up to us to figure out. So
it's
the limit of our own intelligence that keeps us from knowing more.
And it's so fascinating. That's why, I mentioned you're very unique, because these are things we don't, usually hear about just on a limited basis. But I love the fact that you offer these programs where people can go and learn and see these things. It's really terrific. Bonnie, I'm going to take a short break, but we'll be right back with Bonnie Wyper, who is the founder and president of Thinking Animals United. Stay tuned.
My golden retriever, Sundance, is a lot more playful now. She has more pep and energy.
Tons of energy. Happy the rescue dog is happy the healthy dog.
Petey is having fun again. He's got a shiny coat and a good healthy weight.
Molly's been having 4 scoops a day. She pushes her little bowl all the way across the room, emptying every last single crumb. She has slimmed down and gotten this puppy look.
She's got life. She's got energy.
We get asked all the time when we're at shows, how do you get your dog so healthy and shiny and glossy?
DINOVITE.com.
859-428-1000.
The omega-3 fatty acids.
Flaxseed, zinc, alfalfa.
The digestive enzymes that are cooked out of regular dog food.
Dinovite is nutrition.
Just feed your dog right.
Do the Dinovite.
859-428-1000.
859-428-1000. Dinovite for life.
DINOVITE.com.
Hi, I'm Dana Humphrey, the founder of Whitegate PR. We have been specializing in PR and marketing in the pet industry for over 10 years. If you have a pet product or service you would like to promote, give us a call. We can help create awareness for your brand on TV, radio, magazines, newspapers, and blogs. Feel free to reach me directly at 619-414-9307 or learn more on our website at whitegatepr.com or follow us on Facebook.
Let's talk pets.
Let's talk pets
On Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life
PetLifeRadio.com.
My Dog Digs Dirt is back. We're here with Bonnie Wyper, founder and president of Thinking Animals United. Bonnie, we're talking about your very unique organization and the fact that you offer some very interesting lectures and events. I know we mentioned briefly you have a summit coming up in May, and I want to say to our listeners, this is something anyone can go to. Am I right? I mean, you don't have to be a scientist to attend. Right.
Oh, no. No, these are subjects that are of interest really to everybody.
Would you mention,
and it is for everybody.
Yes, because I want to make sure. Bonnie, mention just a few of the lectures that you have over the year, and because I want people to get an idea. As I said, they're just really very interesting.
And by the way, our website, which is thinkinganimalsunited.org, you can see we're slowly getting the videos up. We videotaped everything. So the videos are slowly getting up onto the site, and you can see the actual lectures. You can also find out about the scientists that have spoken at each one. So we've had Exploring Creative Minds. What is creativity, and do animals think creatively, which is really, can they solve problems? Can they look at a situation? They have to crack a nut. Can they come up with an interesting way to solve that problem of cracking the nut?
Very interesting, yeah.
Living in Alien Worlds, which is a particular one that I loved, which is looking at, I often say to people when I'm talking about other species, has anyone here ever heard of SETI, S-E-T-I, which is the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, a program which we spend millions on and other countries do as well. And I say, I look at it and I say, we spend all this money looking for aliens up in the sky when in point of fact we're surrounded by them. And they're other animals.
Your lectures are about all different types of animals. We're talking about big cats, we're talking about elephants, penguins, eagles, pigeons, even puppies, so that's what really makes it so, incredibly interesting, right? Yeah.
Yeah. In the Living in Alien Worlds, one of the most fascinating things that came out is that bees, the humble bumblebee, have the second most complex language in the world.
Really?
We have they communicate using dance. They communicate using chemicals, heat. They have a very, very complex communication system. So this little animal that has this pin-sized brain has an incredibly complex way of communicating.
Wow. Because who would have thought, right, a bee, right.
Right. And then we interviewed Irene Pepperberg, who had Alex the parrot. We did one about dogs. It turns out the title of that was So You Think You Know Your Dog. It turns out, in fact, your dog knows you better than you know the dog.
I can believe that one, right. And you do a lot of work with elephants and protecting elephants.
We do. We've been bringing in some conservation groups recently. We recently had Wildlife SOS, which is an absolutely fabulous group from New Delhi, India, and that has single-handedly stopped the dancing bear trade in dancing in India, which was a horrible. Those bears
terrible.
Were in pain for their entire lives. And now they're tackling the use of temple elephants and elephants for tourists because the elephants are treated unbelievably badly. They have big, huge spiked metal things around their legs. They become,
I can't.
I know.
That's why what you're doing is so important, because even though you don't want to hear it, I'm like, I can't hear that, but you have to hear it and get involved. Wouldn't you agree, Bonnie, as you did by starting this organization?
Absolutely. I mean, it's very difficult to look at some of the things that we do to other species.
Very difficult.
And not only in with wild animals that we capture and delegate to lives with complete torture, but the farm animals and the lab animals and, the circus animals. These animals should not be, animals should be wild. And if animals were wild, they would be allowed to help us keep the earth healthy. But in fact, we lock them up and subject them to miserable lives, and they have had terrible impacts on our health, on global security, on, the economies and environmental sustainability. So we've really kind of, in a way, turned these poor other animals, because of course we're an animal ourselves, we've turned these other animals into things that are destroying the planet in many ways. And it's not their fault. It's what we're doing to them that is killing ourselves.
Yeah. Well, you must be proud of what you've accomplished, Bonnie. You feel that, more and more people are joining you. I know our listeners can get involved. Let us know how. It must be a good feeling that you're making a difference in many ways.
It's a thing that you get up every day and gets you to the office to apply for the next grant, to, talk to the next corporation, plan the next lecture and work. I love talking to conservationists and scientists and animal advocates about what they're doing and learning about the successes. And it's the successes we want to focus on in May as well.
Yes.
There's some amazing entrepreneurs out there and companies out there that are absolutely doing amazing work to change the world for other species as well as ourselves on the planet. So we're going to be looking at that in May as well.
So that's the summit in May. Tell our listeners exactly when in May that is and where they can get information to maybe come on down and take part.
Absolutely. It's going to be May 5th. 5th through 7th in New York City. Part of it will be held at the Explorers Club in New York.
Of course.
And part of it will be held at the New York Academy of Medicine, which has a very lovely, large auditorium. So you can go to our site at www.thinkinganimalsunited.org. Donations are always appreciated.
Yeah.
That's one of the daily facts
Yes,
you
I
never
bet.
forget in running a nonprofit. But you can find out about the summit there. We have a wonderful interview series called Wild Voices, where we interview animal advocates, entrepreneurs, innovators, conservationists. We have a blog that we're just getting up and running, interviewing people. Well, not interviewing. People are writing articles about various aspects of animal cognition or conservation for us, and there's an opportunity, of course, to respond to it. We have really beautiful bracelets.
Yes, I was just going to say,
made out of
beautiful,
aluminum.
beautiful. I mean, these would make such great gifts. I really encourage people to take a look at these. They're so different. I think you call them spirit cuffs.
Spirit cuffs.
Yeah,
They're about 2.5 inches wide.
They're outstanding.
And they have animals, beautiful images of animals on them.
They're gorgeous.
Yeah.
And the money, of course, goes back to help you and to, increase the work that you're doing and to help the animals. Yeah. I mean, I applaud you. I just want to finish by having you just talk briefly about how you feel having created this wonderful organization. And again, you're making a difference, and I really applaud you for that. It must be, again, a great feeling.
It really is. I've done a lot of different things in my life, but I grew up with animals. At a certain point, I said to myself, look, I'm going to be, I hate to say this because it dates me, but at a certain point, I'm going to be looking at the last third of my life. And what is it that really is, because I've done I've had many different careers. What is it that I want to, that really at the base, at the core, what is it that means something to me that I want to devote the rest of my life to? And of course, I grew up with animals. My grandparents had a farm. We always had animals growing up. I went to school I was very lucky that put a big emphasis on nature and knowing the different trees and different flowers in the woods and that sort of thing. So I grew up with a love of nature and really a passion for animals. And that was it. It's something that I wish everybody in the world could have, a passion. I think that, there's so many problems in the world and they are so enormous. There's a thing called compassion fatigue, is that you start to withdraw because in so many cases you feel as if there's nothing you as an individual can do. But in point of fact, there is always something that you can do, whether it just be becoming informed or starting a blog or telling your friends or, helping in a cleanup. There's always something you can do. And if you put your mind to it, you will figure out what works for you. And I am so lucky. I figured out that what works for me.
That's fantastic. And
what you're doing too is wonderful, bringing voices to the public who care about animals. Species.
Thank you.
It's wonderful.
Well, I'm really happy to spread
wonderful.
the word. Well, and I want people to know, so your website, once again, Bonnie, www.thinkinganimalsunited.org. And also we can find you on Facebook, right?
Yes, our Facebook page is Thinking Animals United. So it's facebook.com/Thinking Animals United, all one word, and that'll get you to our Facebook page. And we have great stuff on Facebook.
Really?
We've got about 30,000 followers now, almost 31. And they're a very loyal group. It's wonderful.
Well, you really hit a home run here because your programs are excellent. What you're doing is just really interesting. And I think all of our listeners should log on and take a look and become involved. So thank you, Bonnie. It's Bonnie Wyper, President, Founder, Thinking Animals United. I wish you continued success.
Thank you so much.
Hope to see you soon.
And I really enjoyed,
I'm going to come.
And if you if you come out here, you have to come and look me up.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And I want to thank our listeners. This has been My Dog Digs Dirt. I'm Lauren Collier.
Let's Talk Pets, every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.